Hey everybody, this is my 40-gallon black ghost knifefish tank, although we seldom ever see my black ghost knifefish that's in there, but there really is one in there. And tonight we're going to do a water change on the tank. I'm not going to make a big deal out of the video or anything. It's just going to be a basic before and after. I don't think I'm going to mess around with the filter tonight. I'm just going to do a simple water change and a little bit of maintenance while I'm in there. We've got a few little odds and ends we need to take care of. One of the things you can see here, some of the leaves are starting to yellow, so I need to prune those, get them out of there. If you can see all of the bubbles all over everything, that is because the water level is down. You can see the gap between the top and the water. You can also see how level this tank is. So the surface skimmer on this tank, as well as a couple of my other tanks, sits so close to the surface that as soon as the water level starts coming down a little bit, the part that floats, drops down below where the solid tube on the inside is, and once that solid tube is exposed to the surface, it just sucks air. In fact, it doesn't even have to get to the surface. All it's got to do is get within, I'd say, a quarter inch, and there's enough suction that it creates a little whirlpool and starts sucking air right down through the throat of the whirlpool. And the result is my filter starts blowing bubbles, and then I get a tank that looks like this, which I find to be really, really annoying. So it's time to get in there, get those bubbles cleaned up, get the water topped off, just do a few little odds and ends while I'm in there. You can see some of the fern in here, some of the Java fern. If you can see some of that sort of dark brown color in there, those are dead fronds that need to be pulled out. If we look in the top, you can see there's a bunch of stuff growing, some scummy stuff on the surface that needs to be cleaned off. That always looks gross and disgusting. It's not hurting the fish, it's not a danger to anything, it just looks really gross, and it's, part of doing the tank maintenance. So this part over here, this side over here, is really covered in it, and you can even see all those little sort of white dots. I'm not really sure what that is, but I do get this growth on the surface of the tank sometimes, and it almost looks like little specks of pollen or dust or something that grows all over the tank, and I don't know what it is, but now that we're sucking air, it's obviously sucking water off of the surface again, and it cleaned a lot of that out, and so we now have a nice clear surface again. All that film that was building up on the surface is gone, but I do still have some of that algae and some of that cyanobacteria that we just saw, and that needs to come out. So that'll get cleaned up, and then the few other things I mentioned will get cleaned up. It doesn't even look like the glass needs to be wiped down on this particular case because it's not very algae covered. So go ahead and take a minute to enjoy the tank as it is, because this is your before, and there's your after. So I wound up cleaning the glass after all. Once I got in there, I realized that the glass did have a little more grunge growing on it than I first thought. But it was, hang on a minute, do I see the tail of my black ghost knifefish down there? If you can see that little bit of white that doesn't look like anything, that is, I believe, the tip of the tail of my black ghost knifefish in there. So who knows, maybe we'll get to see a little bit of movement from it today. But I wound up going in and pulling out a lot of the dead leaves. You can see a little bit of movement. Maybe we'll get lucky. Well, I can see it wiggling around in there, but I don't think it's going to actually come out. But that little bit of movement you see is, in fact, my black ghost knifefish. It does live in that cave, and it does come out at night. I know that. I have seen it come out briefly at night when I turn the lights off, but it's not enough light for me to really get any video of it, so I've never bothered. At any rate, I got in there and just did a basic water change. Not a lot to talk about. I removed a bunch of the dead stuff, the plants that needed some trimming. That got cleaned out. I had removed a bunch of the bubbles. I cleaned all the bubbles out, but when I started the filter back up, I guess the air that was trapped in it wound up putting a bunch of bubbles back in the tank, because it didn't look like this when I finished the water change. When I finished the water change, we were waiting for the detritus to settle down. You know, the tank's always a little dirty and swirly looking when you just finish a water change. So as I was waiting for that to settle down, apparently we got a lot of bubbles back in the tank, so I'll have to get in there and go ahead and sort them out if they're still there tomorrow. Maybe check to make sure the filter's working properly, because if it's still sucking air, then I'm going to continue getting these little bubbles appearing. So that's about it. I will add that I removed a little bit of that odd plant that you can see right there. It looks like a big wad of green. I believe that is called subwassertang. And I pulled some of it out. I put some of it in my gourami tank, but I do have some of it floating in my tank in the other room where I keep my aquatic plants that are for sale. So if you're interested in any of that, or any Java Fern, any water sprite, I do have plenty of that available, and I'll put my email down below if you're interested in aquatic plants. But right now I also have some of that subwassertang. I think that's what it's called. It's a weird little green spongy looking sort of plant. I don't even know how it got in there. I don't ever remember planting it, but there it is. So it's in there, and it's been in there for years and years. Now that I'm actually looking at it, I'm trying to see where all of my rainbow fish are. I see 4 good healthy ones there. I see a 5th sort of small one back there, and that's all I'm currently seeing. And there should be 7 of them in this tank. So I'm wondering if I haven't lost a few and have not noticed since I put them in here, because I'm really only seeing those 5. And I'm sure I had 7. I had 1, which is that large one, and then I went and I bought 6 more because I like schools of odd numbers, and I wanted 7 of them. I might have bought 4 more so that I had a school of 5, but I'm almost positive I had 7, so that's interesting. I'm just now noticing that it seems that I've lost a couple of my little dwarf neon rainbows. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up. Again, not a big deal, just a simple water change. I wiped the glass down, I removed some plants, and I removed some of that subwassertang if you're interested in any of that. So check my email down below. I'm going to say thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, this one here is my Black Ghost Knife Fish tank. We sort of almost got to see it tonight. So if you're subscribed, maybe you'll get to see that one in the future. So thanks again. I'll see you real soon.